You walk into a room you've never set foot in before. New apartment, new city, the first time you've ever stood on this floor. And out of nowhere, your whole body goes still. Because this exact moment feels like it's already happened. The light hitting the wall, the sound of a door somewhere behind you, even the next few words someone is about to say. You've never stood here before. You're sure of that. And yet some part of you insists you have. That's déjà vu. It happens to most people at some point in their lives, and it usually lasts only a few seconds. But those few seconds carry a strange kind of dread. Because if it's not a memory, what is it? A glitch in your head? A slip in time? Some people even wonder if they're catching a flash of a parallel life. One of the strongest scientific explanations is stranger than any of that, and honestly, a lot more reassuring. Déjà vu may not be your brain failing you. It may be your brain catching a false signal before you get fooled. To understand this explanation, you need two parts of a broader memory network that work together constantly, usually without you noticing either one. The first is the hippocampus, buried deep in your temporal lobe. Think of it as part of your memory's fact-checking system for context. It helps track when and where things happened, connecting moments to the circumstances around them. A nearby region called the parietal cortex contributes to a faster sense of familiarity. It doesn't recover the whole episode. Roughly speaking, it helps answer a simpler question. Does this feel familiar? Yes or no? Most of the time, familiarity and contextual memory agree with each other. A place feels familiar because you can remember when or where you encountered it. But sometimes, a familiarity signal may arrive without enough contextual recollection to explain it. Maybe a new room shares a hidden structure with an old one. Same basic layout, a similar arrangement of furniture, a similar rhythm of light and shadow, even though you've never consciously noticed the resemblance. Picture your friend's new kitchen, arranged almost the same way as your grandmother's kitchen from 20 years ago, just with different cabinets and a different color on the walls. Your eyes never registered the similarity directly, but somewhere underneath, the layout may still have been compared. For one brief moment, familiarity shows up without a matching memory you can consciously retrieve. According to the memory conflict account, that disagreement can produce déjà vu. Researchers have tried to create a laboratory version of that conflict. In one brain imaging study, volunteers encountered words designed to feel familiar while also receiving information that the familiarity was misleading. 16 of the 21 participants reported a déjà vu-like experience. Their scans showed activity in regions involved in detecting and evaluating conflict, including the anterior cingulate and medial prefrontal cortex. It was a small study, and a laboratory imitation is not identical to freezing in a real doorway. But it gave researchers something rare, a visible sign that conflict monitoring may be part of the experience. Some of the clearest neurological evidence comes from a very unlikely place: brain surgery. Decades ago, a neurosurgeon named Wilder Penfield operated on patients with epilepsy. To map their brains safely before removing damaged tissue, he stimulated different regions with a small electrode while patients stayed awake and described what they felt. At certain temporal lobe sites, some patients reported vivid familiarity or déjà vu-like experiences. Later researchers used electrodes placed inside the medial temporal region during epilepsy evaluations. In one influential study, stimulating the entorhinal cortex was especially associated with déjà vu, while parietal stimulation more often produced recollections of scenes. That does not give déjà vu one simple address, but it does tie the experience to a real network of memory structures. You don't need brain surgery to study this, though. In more recent experiments, researchers built pairs of virtual reality scenes, one environment, then a second one that shared the same underlying floor plan, but looked completely different on the surface. Different furniture, different colors, different decorations, same basic geometry hidden underneath. People walking through the second scene often reported a wave of déjà vu, even though nobody told them the two environments were secretly related and their conscious mind never spotted the pattern on its own. Some other part of their brain clearly did. The important detail was that participants could recognize the second environment as new while still feeling that strange pull of familiarity. The experiment was small and cannot explain every spontaneous episode. What it demonstrated was narrower, but valuable. Ordinary feature matching can create familiarity without conscious recall. You do not need a hidden memory of the entire room. A partial resemblance may be enough to make the present feel as if it belongs to the past. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Déjà vu isn't reported equally by everyone. In one study of more than 200 healthy participants, people who traveled more also reported déjà vu more often. The relationship was modest, and it does not prove that travel causes the experience. One possibility is simply that unfamiliar settings make an unexplained familiarity signal easier to notice. Popular explanations also link déjà vu with tiredness, stress, or dopamine, but the evidence is not strong enough to treat those as established causes. What researchers can say more confidently is that déjà vu involves familiarity appearing where conscious recollection cannot fully explain it. Which brings us to the part that flips the entire story. For a long time, déjà vu got treated like proof that something had gone wrong in your head. A misfire, a memory error, a small crack in reality. But one influential account suggests almost the opposite. If the familiarity signal went completely unchecked, you might accept it as a real memory. Usually, you don't. You feel the pull of familiarity, and in that same instant, you also know something does not fit. That second part, the knowing, is important. It suggests that your brain detected a conflict between familiarity and what you consciously remember. On this account, déjà vu may not be the error. It may be the moment your brain detects one. If explanations like this help you see ordinary moments differently, subscribe to the Curious Frame. That possibility is worth appreciating, but it is not the whole story. Scientists do not fully agree on every detail. Some focus on conflict between familiarity and contextual recollection. Others emphasize unrecalled memory, the possibility that you encountered something similar before, perhaps briefly or without attention, and your brain is reacting to a real trace it cannot bring back consciously. Neither account has the full answer, and researchers continue testing both. Several tools used to study déjà vu, from virtual reality to brain imaging during a feeling that lasts only seconds, still have important limits. And it is worth being clear about something else. Occasional déjà vu is common and usually harmless. If it becomes frequent, distressing, or appears with confusion, loss of awareness, or other unusual symptoms, it is worth mentioning to a doctor because similar experiences can sometimes accompany neurological conditions. For most people, though, déjà vu may simply reflect ordinary memory monitoring, and that idea changes how you might think about your own mind on an ordinary day. There's a newer finding that pushes this even further. Researchers notice that when people feel that jolt of déjà vu, many of them also feel, just for a second, like they can predict what's about to happen next. Turn left, and you're almost certain of it before you do. Of course, in the experiment, they usually couldn't predict anything at all. It was an illusion produced by the exact same burst of false familiarity that triggered the déjà vu in the first place, which is a useful thing to remember the next time your gut feels completely certain about something it has no real basis for. That confident, familiar feeling and actual knowledge are not the same thing, even though from the inside they can feel identical. So the next time you freeze in a doorway, convinced you've lived this exact second before, you do not have to reach for anything mysterious to explain it. You are not glitching or slipping between timelines. You may be noticing familiarity and conscious memory disagree for a moment, followed almost immediately by the awareness that something does not fit. The strange feeling is real. The memory it seems to promise may not be. Subscribe to the Curious Frame for more hidden explanations behind ordinary experiences. And if déjà vu made you question what your own mind can trust, watch Why You Feel Like a Stranger to Yourself next.